One time DMX was arrested in JFK Airport for Grand Theft Auto and having a ton of drugs in the back seat. I know Grand Theft Auto was big that year, but dude, you would see him in court cases online, literally cursing in front of the judge. 50 Cent came onto the scene with more drama and beef than anyone imaginable. He had just been shot 9 times, and he was pretty much ruining Ja Rule's career. Marilyn Manson's being accused of the Columbine mass shooting. XXXTentacion's going viral, uploading fights and crazy shit he's doing in Florida. Well, it is Florida. And Eminem has his wife in the trunk. My name's Alex Majewski, also known as Jay Sky. In this video, I'm going to be talking about controversial artists who use shock as a way to draw attention to their music. Who remembers back in 2010, give or take, when Odd Future was on the Jimmy Fallon show performing Sandwiches? You had Tyler, the Creator, and Haji Beats with green ski masks, being aggressive, in your face, doing shit that no one had seen before. A rap group from Los Angeles whose group mentality appeared to pay homage to NWA, but in an art collective kind of way. Influenced by metal, goth, rap. These kids were not claiming to be the toughest physically, but rather MCs who were not to be fucked with. Aggressive lyrics that were controversial, like in the song Sandwiches.
Off-white hooligans is messing up the school again, showing you what yours are breaking rules is really cool again. I'm going harder than them, jumping over me. Sonic, you know, shoving everything, plus the upholstery. Punches in the stomach with a little one, some squirrel ass. I want that girl to know it's me.
Lyrics like this were dope. They obviously had bars, and they weren't claiming to be fucking hard. They weren't claiming to be gang affiliated, anything like that. These were rappers that were simply using their surroundings and the things that they were inspired by as creative motives to put into their art. Tyler, the Creator, was often producing their music, and they were often using minimalistic and kind of haunting beats. So they'd have a synth, a simple drum beat, and then almost like shitty sounding effects that you would hear coming out of like GarageBand at the time. And just utilizing that in the most creative way, minimalistically, with awesome lyrics that were in your face. They were clearly trying to get attention. Even at the end of the performance, you had Mos Def coming out, Tyler, the Creator, jumping on his back, or I don't know the order of who was jumping on whose back. Nonetheless, he was validating. He was saying, these motherfuckers are here to stay. They're dope as shit. And me and my friends thought the same. And what was unique about Odd Future, Tyler, the Creator, Earl Sweatshirt, Haji Beats, Jasper, the list goes on, there's so many. Frank Ocean came out of that group. This was something that was brand new to hip hop, because typically you had to be living the life of the things that you were addressing on the track. And now all of a sudden you have Odd Future, they're coming in as if you're at like an art gallery exhibit. They're wearing crazy outfits. They're being wild and goofy, kind of like what you would see Bam Margera and people from Jackass doing, just being goofy as shit. Jasper later on is even in Jackass, just to prove my point there. And really what it is they're saying it's okay. You don't actually have to hurt people. You don't actually have to do these crazy things to be validated as a rapper. We're dope, we're MCs, we're creative, this is art. And they did that so beautifully. It was something new, it was fresh, and it obviously spoke. Tyler, the Creator, who was like kind of the brains of the operation, not saying that everyone else isn't super talented. He had crazy success, even getting validated by huge artists like Kanye West on Twitter when he first dropped Yonkers. Once again, pulling off of the minimalistic attitude and music that he brought, he simplified this video so much that it is black and white, all white background, and he's just standing there kind of posing on a stool and eating a cockroach. And this was just something that no one would do. Rappers, they want to be seen in chains, they want to have cars. MTV Cribs was a huge thing at the time. Now you have Tyler, the Creator, just stripping everything of that, and he's saying, yo, check out what I'm saying, look at me, let me show you how disgusting I am, and just listen to my art. And that's something that was resonating with tons of people, and it's continued to this day. Tyler, the Creator, is still one of the biggest artists around. I believe he's won a couple Grammys. Yeah, he's won a couple Grammys. Eminem jumped into the spotlight in 1998 with My Name Is. He had a soft side caring for his daughter, yet he would call his mother a whore and make songs about killing his wife, hiding her in the trunk in the song Kim. He was known for being controversial about that, as well as being homophobic, saying the F word. In the song My Name Is, Eminem has lyrics, 99% of my life I was lied to. I just found out my mom does more dope than I do. I told her when I grow up I'll be a famous rapper, make a record about doing drugs and name it after. Here, mom. So those lyrics always resonated to me. My mother had a lot of drug addiction and mental health issues. Although some of Eminem's songs may have been extremely over the top and dramatic with shock value, a lot of the issues and things he was addressing in the songs I related to in my personal life, and I'm sure that's what a lot of people were seeing and drawn to in his music. The song reflects intense anger and hatred towards his then wife Kim Mathers, Eminem imitating her voice, and ends with him murdering her and later putting her body in the trunk of the car. Although at the time this was wild and it was something that had never been done before, the news was trying to essentially cancel Eminem, Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady. Yes, for sure, no one should be publicly talking shit about other people. He was talking about his mom, he was talking about his baby mama, and the thing is that this was like his form of expression. Yes, he was doing it to get attention, he was doing it to further his career. In a way, he did hurt people verbally with his music. There were tons of court cases. Eminem's mom was suing him for $10 million. Him and his wife were having drama and all kinds of controversy in the news. Later on, Eminem addresses the homophobic nature of his music, performing his song Stan with Elton John at an award show. They hug each other, and really what they're doing here is they're letting the world know that it's okay to be whoever it is you are. Marilyn Manson. First name like Marilyn Monroe, last name Manson, not to be confused with Charles Manson. Marilyn Manson pushed the visual boundaries to the extreme. He was androgynous with his fashion sense that was inspired by BDSM and heavy metal. You could see by his sexual nature, the way he'd move his body, the tight pants he would wear. Sometimes he would even make it as if he didn't have nipples. You could see him cutting himself in the video. The rebellious imagery was a huge contrast to the mainstream, not so heavy pop-like productions that he had. For someone that was so in your face and pushing the boundaries in every which direction, he clearly wanted to reach the masses because the music he had sounded like polished pop music. Believe it or not, this goth pop sensation was actually produced by Trent Reznor, who was the singer and songwriter of 9 Inch Nails. In 1999, they were blaming Marilyn Manson for the Columbine high school shooting massacre. Crazy, right? They really gave him the power of the devil. By drawing more attention to him in a negative way, actually did the opposite and blew him up as an even bigger star. In more recent years, Marilyn Manson did have some accusations against him. I don't know all the details of it. I just want to be clear that I'm not supportive of that behavior, and I'm using Marilyn Manson in this video because he is a prime example of a controversial and also shock value artist. XXXTentacion would fight on camera to go viral online. He shaved his eyebrows, covered himself with face tattoos, and in the song Look At Me, he would have lyrics like, although he was very troubled, he did have a prolific way of speaking, connecting with the youth. He would use his pain to connect and kind of open the floor to people all around the world. In ways, he gave the youth a voice and would often reply directly to DMs, speak through his Instagram stories addressing mental health, and just talking about that you should not be someone else. You should be yourself. You should be authentic. You should go after your dreams. And in many ways, there was a positive nature to that message he was putting out there. He was being crazy. He was accused of beating up his pregnant girlfriend, and then he was on trial for that, and then also facing life because of witness tampering. He did everything in his power to get shocked, to get attention, to be famous, to show his art to the world. A lot of negativity came out of it, but a lot of positivity did for some people, and I want to just talk about the shock nature. If you see the documentary Look At Me, you're going to see him just going after people with the camera, fighting on camera, going viral in that way, saying the most aggressive shit, having these distorted drums and screaming like he's in a heavy metal band and rapping, getting sensitive, and just showing so many different sides of his character. I talked about it a little more in depth in some other of my emo rap videos. There's a couple of them out, and I just wanted to bring attention to him because he is one of the biggest shock artists of all time. Unfortunately, he did die. He left this world too early. A lot of that probably had to do with the controversial nature of his life. There's a good chance that he would have spent his whole life behind bars. We don't really know how that would have ended up, but it does seem like that based on the Look At Me documentary. 50 Cent, biggest shit talker, had the most beef, came into the scene being shot 9 times all over the body, 1 in the mouth, which changed his voice, and you could hear it in his music. Pretty much destroyed Ja Rule's career. I remember one time at the height of the beef, Ja Rule had like pretty much a flop of a record, and he said, well, I made this one for myself. And 50 Cent's reply publicly was, if he made that shit for himself, he should have kept it in his headphones. He's just like a funny guy. I've seen him on the Howard Stern show, countless interviews. He genuinely seems like a nice person. He used shock and controversy early on in his career. Not to mention he was co-signed by Eminem and Dr. Dre, who are 2 of the biggest artists and producers in the world, especially in hip hop. With his debut album, Get Rich or Die Trying, he was putting it out there that you have to live your dreams or die trying. You're gonna get all the money or you're not gonna make it at all. That extreme personality and shift in character and mindset is something that was driving people towards his music, especially the youth. He had so much shit that he was talking about with other people and things that happened to him growing up and all these different stories and characters he was creating on the outside to actually put value to the songs that were on Get Rich or Die Trying and the follow-up records. When you're listening to that and you're seeing drama about him and Ja Rule stabbing him and him getting shot, and then he's talking about it in the songs, it's really tying everything together, and it's making it a lot more entertaining. It's making it so much more engaging. This is before social media, so all you would see is a little interview on MTV or a news post or an article on XXL magazine, and then you would listen to the record, you'd go buy the CD, and it was just crazy. You would have like hours and weeks just diving in, just trying to think about it, and then a couple weeks later you hear another interview or get another piece of information, whether it was from your friends or just watching it on TV or VH1 or some shit like that. DMX was always one of my favorites. I had a bunch of his CDs early on. It was like left at my house from one of my mom's friends in like a CD book. Like 8 years old, 9 years old, I knew like all the words to Eminem, DMX, all of these artists. I know it was crazy, but I don't know, my mom's crazy. He had a really darkness to his music. It was super hip hop, it was super street, but it did kind of have like this like metal vibe to it. It had something different that no one else had. There's lyrics in his songs that are extremely controversial, like Bring Your Whole Crew. I got blood on my hands and there's no remorse. I got blood on my dick cause I'm fucking a corpse. Lyrics like this were nuts. You didn't have rappers going out there saying anything but keeping their shoes nice or having the dopest whip. You had DMX coming in there nitty gritty, just a pair of jeans, no shirt, just coming in there screaming, barking, doing crazy stuff. He had an intense childhood. He had a lot of demons in his life, drug addiction. He's been incarcerated over 30 times in his life. Rest in peace to DMX, a great artist, super talented. And he's even in dope movies with Steven Seagal, if anyone's seen those. Have you seen him? DMX was locked up over 30 times over the course of his life. Often he would write some of his best songs while incarcerated. This was kind of like a reset time for him. He wasn't doing drugs, he was in isolation, and he would use that time to kind of better himself. He would come out, make a banging record, and then just have success, and then fuck it all up again. Growing up, he was beaten regularly by his mother and many boyfriends who knocked at his teeth and left permanent scars on his face. One of my favorite songs is Slippin'. He has lyrics where he's saying, if I'm strong enough, I'll live long enough to see my kids, doing something more productive with the time than bids. Next we have Slipknot, a whole group, self-made masks, jumpsuits. Another one that like their music's heavy and sounds different. They had a ton of people playing percussion, but it wasn't necessarily like the heaviest music. There was a lot of melody in their music, similar to what Marilyn Manson did. Like they kind of had pop music with Before I Forget and a whole bunch of other songs. In 2008, Slipknot made headlines blamed for a school murder in South Africa because the student wore a band t-shirt and mask that was reminiscent of the band's mask. The Heretic Anthem is about Corey standing his ground and becoming the exact opposite of what people want him to be, to prove a point. The point of not selling out, not following people, not taking orders from people, with lyrics describing man a 555 and Satan a 666 and God is a 777, the theme of hate once prevails. It is also a large fuck you to the music industry and bands that have sold out. He's also making a point that life is just not easy breezy. It could be disgusting. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. It could be a scary place. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I had a pretty traumatic childhood. My mother was a drug addict. She had a lot of mental health issues. And it was mostly verbal abuse. She threw phones at me countless times, screamed at me, said all kinds of disgusting things. And there's a lot of other things that I was around and witnessed that really fucked me up, to be honest. I'm not going to dive too much into it. If you do want to get a little bit more info on that, you could check out songs I made like 90s Baby or Big Big Dreams. I kind of touch on it a bit. It's pretty dark and it's fucked up. It really fucked me up for years. That's kind of the point I want to make here, that majority of the artists in this video had a lot of trauma in their lives, whether it was sexual abuse, whether they were beaten like severely. And that's a correlation between all of this. I feel a lot of what they were bringing out and were showing in their music that was so horrific and grotesque to the world and parents and church groups and all kinds of social groups and everyone like that was trying to kind of censor them. This is because they're pulling from what happened in their life, this dark place that they want to express as their art. Art is something that's coming from the inside. Yes, they're doing it. They want to be famous. They have the shock value. They obviously had a plan. These are smart people that knew how to get the attention that they want for their careers, and they went after it. And the correlation is that people that had a lot of these issues, that have a lot of these issues, are connecting with these artists for just that. They're being authentic. They're bringing in just like the traumas they had, the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, everything like that. They're bringing out in their music in many ways, whether it's the timbres of their crazy guitars or the big drum beats or the way they're screaming or wearing ski masks and getting in your face. Some of these people are doing crazy shit and getting locked up, and a lot of these people are just talking about it because they're trying to make a point. Even 50 Cent's mom was a drug dealer and died when he was like 8 years old, and he grew up with his grandparents. I also grew up with my grandparents. Art and music is a harmless self-expression. It shouldn't be canceled. It shouldn't be filtered. A lot of people, including myself, use it as therapy. Things that happen to us, we're not always in control of it, and using just our emotions and just screaming and saying fuck or whatever it is, you should be able to do that. It's your personal punching bag. It's your therapy, and people are recording that. They're putting their music, their art, their therapy out into the world, and it's to connect with other people. People are connecting with it because they can relate from their personal experiences, and that shouldn't be shunned. That shouldn't be shut down, and I'm glad it has progressed over time. So now I want to address the artists I've talked about and the abuse that they had growing up. These are all public statements, mind you. Corey Taylor was abused when he was 10 by a 16-year-old friend. Marilyn Manson abused by a neighbor. DMX's mother and boyfriends beat him so badly. I think his mother beat him with a broom so bad that he lost his front teeth. 50 Cent's mother was a drug dealer and died in a fire when Curtis was only 8 years old. He later on went to live with his grandparents. I can relate. I also went to live with my grandparents when I was turning 17. Tyler, the Creator, attended 12 different schools from 1st grade until 12th grade. I also went to about 10 schools. Eminem was raised primarily in an all-black neighborhood in Detroit where he was beaten countless times. One noted by a childhood bully named Angela Bewley. He severely injured Eminem's head in an assault, exaggerated in his song Brain Damage. Eminem's mom had Munchausen by proxy. That's when a parent makes up fake illnesses for their kids, or even worse, makes them sick by giving them drugs or just mentally just like manipulating them and taking them to a ton of doctors. His mother also suffered from drug addiction, which I do think is a direct correlation to her having access to a ton of prescription medication. XXXTentacion was sexually abused by an unnamed adult when he was a child. Other traumatic events that he witnessed included someone being physically tortured and someone being raped. The correlation that I want to make in this is these are all controversial artists with shock value. Putting themselves out there, they wanted as much attention as possible, and that's crystal clear. They were also extremely talented. And it seems across the board troubled. They had traumatic childhoods, and I think that's reflecting in kind of the dark and aggressive characteristics of all of these groups. With that being said, it related to a huge audience because the real truth is that life is fucked up. People don't have just amazing childhoods with unlimited money, and people's parents are dying, people are getting hurt, people are losing loved ones, people are getting arrested, just they're fucking up all the time. This is just real life. Although some of these artists made poor choices in life, they did have a positive influence on a large group of people with the words that they were saying, with their lyricism, connecting people and making them feel less alone. My name is Alex Majewski, also known as Jay Sky. I want to thank everyone for tuning into the video. I addressed some of my favorite, most controversial artists of all time, but I know I left out a ton. If there's specific ones you'd love me to talk about in the future, please leave a comment below. Follow me on Instagram at JSkyProduction. Please subscribe. I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.